Okay, can you guys all hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, I can't hear you, so let me see.
Can you hear us?
Okay. Christopher can only see one person.
Okay. I can see you. Can you not see me?
I can't hear.
can all three of us see each other right now so far? Haley and Christopher?
Yeah, I can see everybody right now.
Okay, the three
and I
of
can
us.
hear you guys. Okay, I guess Ronnie was still having issues with getting his computer worked out, and it looks like Alexandra's computer is crashing.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if they will be able to join us. Hopefully they'll figure it out. But I guess I can't really work towards that anymore right now. So it is broadcast. Huh?
Can you hear us?
I can. Yes, I had to use headphones, but I can hear you guys now.
Wonderful.
And then I should just be able to provide the link from this broadcast to our teacher so that she'll have the recording of it when we're done. Let's see.
Cool.
Okay. I'm sure she'll be understanding about the other two people because she said that we could submit it at a later time. So to have issues on the first Google Hangout, I think she'll be.
Yeah. I'm hoping it'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think 3 out of 5 is probably good. So
figure it out halfway through or something at least and be able to join us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So should we get started?
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
All right. Do we want to start with bad leaders or good leaders? I'm all in favor of starting with bad.
I'm all for that. There's it seems like it's a lot easier to find bad than good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in the textbook I have beside me, there's so many examples of like bad leadership qualities. And
yeah, I felt like they expanded a lot more on bad leaders than good leaders.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think part of that too goes with people, just because. Oh, there's
Ronnie's here.
Ronnie.
Ronnie's
All right.
here.
Yeah.
There we go. Awesome.
It's 3 browsers.
Okay, so we're starting off with talking about bad leaders, just because we thought there was a lot more regarding that in the textbook.
Cool. Yeah. What has been said so far?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Started.
Yeah.
What is that noise?
What is that?
I think Ronnie is getting a phone call, possibly.
All right, so let's start off with bad leaders, I guess. I have one example I'd like to talk about first, if that's okay. Has everybody seen or at least heard or read about Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So my bad leader and the obvious choice of bad leader is Joffrey Lannister, or well, he's Baratheon, but he's
yeah.
Because he's just got all the qualities from the textbook. I'm telling you, he's evil, selfish, corrupt, narcissistic. He lacks self-control. He's rigid. He's callous. He just completely disregards the welfare of others. So I think he is like the epitome of a bad leader. Like, I mean, I know he's young, but he is just like, he was horrible. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the bad leaders, I was thinking more like, which yours was a great example, but I was thinking like bad leaders in history, like Adolf Hitler, who also exact characteristics. Very narcissistic, builds up a story, a false story to get everyone to turn on a certain group of people, and has exactly all those characteristics. So yeah, like very similar personalities. So
yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Yeah, another would be like in the same way would be like Stalin, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
all these people, they're leaders, and they have good traits as leaders because obviously they wouldn't be there if they didn't. But at the same time, it's they use more of a fear tactic and
Right.
controlling than anything. So
They bring bad leaders bring a lot of people together for the wrong reason.
Yeah, bad leaders are I think they're really good at communication usually, so they get people to trust them in the beginning process before getting people to follow them. Exactly. So once they have a little group of a following, they just like
they take it to
that little group, take it to the next level, and it's just horrible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually used a totally different example. I went with The Office. And when Dwight was the manager of the branch, and he was a horrible leader, he was kind of evil. He was way too serious. And he never complimented his employees or anything like that. He only reprimanded them, and he set the bar way too high. Like, he was always expecting them to do way more than they needed to do at a paper company. And he was just crazy.
That's a great way to think. I never even thought of that. I just thought about
I've sadly never seen The Office. So.
Oh no,
I haven't either, but I understand.
I haven't. I think one thing too that is similar with all of them is that they were all placed in a position of leadership. So it's more of they didn't. Some of them got there on their own traits, but a lot of times they were also placed in that position to, be over other people. So, it's not like, people wanted them to be there per se. They were just set there, and they were able to control people the way they wanted to without anybody saying anything otherwise.
Right, like in North Korea, the Uns or the Jungs, whatever they call him.
Yeah, the Ils, the Kims.
Like, the whole existence of North Korea, and they're just kind of just placed there, and nobody can really do anything about it unless it's like chemical warfare. It's kind of scary. So.
Yeah,
I feel like some of them do get elected. Some bad leaders can get elected and not just placed, but definitely. I think they promise false promises and get their followers to believe in them, and then once they have the position, it's like boom, change. Like I don't promise this anymore. Like, it's gonna go this way instead of that way, and you're gonna do what I say.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Or it could be an election, and they win by a landslide.
Yes, like an election. Yeah,
and I mean, in my own personal experience, I've been had good leaders and bad leaders, and a lot of times they've been placed in a position to where I guess the person over them was like, "Hey, let's give it a try," and put them in that position, and they ended up being just down your back. You're always under their thumb.
And they're unskilled too. When they get placed into a position that they're not ready for, they don't have the skills to know how to lead people. These bad leaders, not all their fault, but.
Well, I think in some situations though that they are very skilled at being leaders, but like with the book they have like the Machiavellian and the different types where they may be very skilled, but they're in for their own benefit. Yeah, their own agenda. So if it makes them look better, they'll run you into the ground to get the job done without caring about anybody else, and then take all the credit.
Exactly.
The book also talks about like managers versus leaders. That some people are like they can manage, but they cannot lead.
Right.
And it can be very different. I think that kind of goes along with it.
Yeah, actually, for my discussion post, that's what I talked about: managers versus leaders, and like running. Like, no personal opinion about Trump, but he went from a manager to a leader, and it's his opinion that he wants to make America like a business. And I'm going to keep my political opinions aside, but like going from being a manager of a corporation to an official like a government official, you take skills from your management and they may or may not work. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it works in their favor and then sometimes it doesn't.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a great point.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna elaborate to what Samantha was saying that yeah, it's way different when you're just like basically just have your name and like do a little corporation stuff compared to being like bringing people together, changing policies. It's a whole different ball game. So like you could be fit for one and completely unfit for another. So.
Yeah.
I was always under the impression, or I guess the mantra, that not all managers are good leaders, but most leaders are good managers.
Right.
Yeah. I think sometimes managers, they treat their employees in a either good or bad fashion, and then that translates over to being a leader. If they treated their employees poorly, I don't think they're gonna treat their followers very well, and they're in their leadership position. But I do agree. I think leaders can be good managers, but managers are.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so do we want to talk about what makes a good leader a little bit in the last few minutes that we have?
Yeah. So I've got Olivia Benson from Law and Order SVU as my good leader because you know, she makes peace with her followers, like after, you know, an episode or something bad happens. So that's her skillful communication, is after something bad happens, she makes peace with her followers and she doesn't get ahead of them like in the book, you know, in the book text, like you don't want to become too ahead of your followers, but like she's a good leader. She is a little strict sometimes in the newer episodes, but like she's compassionate and she's caring. And she really cares about the people who are affected during the show for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's a really good trait. I also thought of as far as like trust and knowing your people. So it's a big difference between a bad leader that just tells you to do something without any background information, and you're like, you know, why am I doing this? Compared to somebody that built that trust up with you, and they say, hey, I need you to get this done. And you know, a lot of times you don't think twice. You know, you don't really question it because you know that they're either trying to help you out or you know there's a reason behind it, and it's not just to you know make you do something that you know occupies your time and everything.
Exactly.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I have the mayor of my town. His followers are very trusting of him because he grew up here as a kid and he was a good guy. So he built up his follower base like long before he came mayor because he had all these people trusting him and believing in him. And I mean, this is like his second term, and people just really like him because he also is a manager of his own business, and he treats his employees fairly, which goes to his constituents. He treats them fairly as well, and he just offers his cell phone number out to anybody who wants to talk, and he puts aside time for them. So I think that's like a good leader, you know what I mean?
So for him, he's able to be a leader and a manager.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
But
that's the time when going from manager to leader like actually helped him.
Right.
Those are great traits, both of those, being accessible and like being personable, like people can relate to you, you know? Like they don't just see you as this big person at the top that runs everything and makes everything happen, but like you're just a normal human being, you know? So that's really
and he listens to his council. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people on his council, and he listens to them before he makes any major decision, which is really good because you don't want someone up there who's like completely disregarding the rest of their council.
Right. They're out of touch with. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Having a open door policy.
Yeah, that's always a good thing.
Exactly.
I used another Office reference for my good leader. I know you guys haven't seen it, but it should be self-explanatory. I used Michael Scott, because he, like, everyone was being really kind of down on this one employee because she wanted to pursue art as her career and they didn't think that she was a good artist. But he totally supported her and like went to her art show and was blown away and bought one of her paintings when everybody else had told her she was doing a really bad job. So I think just that he like did something outside of the office and was really supportive of her in her personal endeavors, like that makes him a really good leader.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the paternalistic leadership role where they get involved outside of work. I mean, sometimes people like it and sometimes they don't, but I think that was a really good example, getting involved outside of work and buying her art piece. So, yeah, definitely.
My example was a leader through like unity and peace. I use like Mahatma Gandhi. He brought together a whole group of people for the Indian race to rebel peacefully and protest peacefully, including a hunger strike against the British rule in like in the 1900s. So I thought that he has very good leader qualities. So that's what
I agree, especially peaceful protesting. Like that's really hard to get your followers to peacefully protest.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think a big part too with all the people that we kind of, had is that a lot of them are approachable and they don't put themselves on that pedestal. So if you have any questions, they're more than happy to help you out instead of just putting you to one of their employees or something like that to help you out.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Right. Very hands-on. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very proactive, hands-on, ready to help. Like those are good leaders. Like even if it's like a small thing you want help with, like for the leadership proposal, like I just needed some of his time to talk to him and he was like, yeah, come down anytime. Like that just shows how much he cares about his constituents. Like being accessible, like you guys said, like that's crazy. Like a mayor giving his cell phone number to all of his constituents. Call me anytime.
Yeah. It's inspirational, helps out a lot too, because I mean, to get somebody to want to do something is completely different than making them do something, whether they want to or not. So
exactly.
Yeah, getting people to want to do something is hard, but like if you get them to want to do it, like it just turns out so much better than being like, you have to do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this was a really good first hangout. I'll go ahead and stop the broadcast and send the link to the teacher, and I can send you guys an email to the link as well so that you can view it just in case. And hopefully next week, Alexandra will be able to join us.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Sound good?
Great talk.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Out mostly.
Good day, guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.